Have you ever had one of those days, or maybe one of those years, where it feels like the universe just has it out for you? Where no matter what you do, things just keep going wrong? Well, if you've ever felt that way, you're in good company. Today, we're diving deep into the ancient story of Job, a man who faced unimaginable suffering and dared to ask the question we've all asked: why?
Seriously, just pause and picture this. Everything you've built, everyone you love, your family, your home, your career, your health, gone, in the blink of an eye. What's your first move? What's your first thought? Does your faith even stand a chance?
Yeah, this isn't just some thought experiment. This is the raw, unflinching story of a man named Job. His experience has echoed for thousands of years because it refuses to give us easy, simple answers about life, faith, and suffering.
So let's meet this guy, Job. The story makes it crystal clear right from the start he was a good dude. Blameless and upright, it says, a man of total integrity, and he was blessed for it. He had a huge family, 10 kids, and was fantastically wealthy. We're talking thousands of sheep, camels, oxen, the whole 9 yards. The text literally calls him the greatest man in the entire region. He is the poster child for a blessed life. Okay, and now the camera pans away from Earth and zooms into this wild, heavenly scene. God's on his throne and the angels are reporting for duty. And among them is this one figure called Ha-Satan in Hebrew. Now this is important. It's not a name like Lucifer. It's a title. It means the accuser or the challenger. Think of him as a celestial prosecuting attorney whose job is to roam the earth and poke holes in the faith of humanity.
So this is the accuser's big argument. God points out Job, saying, "See, what a guy." But the accuser is cynical. He basically says, sure, Job's faithful now, but it's just a business deal. He's only good because you've protected him and made him rich. It's a transaction. Take away all the perks, and I promise you, that faith will crumble and he will curse you to your face. It's a huge wager.
And incredibly, God allows it. He agrees to the test. A line is drawn in the sand. Job's life itself is off limits, for now. But everything else, his wealth, his family, everything that makes his life his, it's all suddenly on the table. The stage is set for an absolute catastrophe. What happens next is just brutal. It's one of the most relentless passages you'll ever read. There's no slow build-up. It happens with lightning speed. On what started as just a normal day, the bad news starts rolling in, one messenger right after the other. The first messenger runs in, completely out of breath. Raiders attacked. They stole the oxen and donkeys, the very engine of his wealth, and killed the workers. I'm the only one who got away, he says. And before he can even finish his sentence, a second guy shows up. This time, it wasn't human raiders. This was, and I quote, fire from heaven, a freak disaster that just incinerated all 7,000 of his sheep and the shepherds with them. The scale of this is just escalating like crazy. And while he's still talking, here comes messenger number 3. Another raiding party, a different one, made off with all 3,000 of his camels, a massive symbol of his status and power, and killed more of his people. His entire empire is just gone. And then, the final soul-destroying blow. The fourth messenger. A freak tornado, a mighty wind, came out of nowhere and leveled the house where all 10 of Job's kids were having a party. They're all gone. In just a few minutes, Job has lost every single thing he owns, and, so much worse, every single person he loves. So the test is complete, the accuser got what he wanted, so what does Job do? Does he curse God? His reaction is absolutely stunning. He grieves, for sure. He tears his robe, he shaves his head, but then he falls to the ground and worships. He blesses God. In round 1, the accuser couldn't have been more wrong. But this isn't over. The accuser goes back to God and says, okay, you got me. But the test wasn't hard enough. A man will give up anything to save his own skin. He says, touch his body and I guarantee he'll crack. So God allows round 2. And Job is struck with these agonizing, painful sores all over his body. His suffering is so complete that even his wife, who's lost everything too, just breaks. She tells him to give up, just curse God and die, end this. But Job looks at her and asks this question that's really at the heart of the whole book. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble? Even now, he refuses to give a simple, sinful answer to his incredibly complex pain. Now, this is where things get really fascinating. Job's 3 friends show up to comfort him. And for a week, they just sit with him in silence. But then they start talking.
and their comfort turns into this relentless interrogation. This slide nails the core of their argument. For them, the world is simple. God is just. Therefore, if you're suffering, you must have sinned. They can't imagine any other possibility. So they just hammer him over and over. Just confess. What did you do? But Job refuses to lie. He holds on to his innocence and screams out that God is the one being unfair.
After chapters and chapters of this debate going absolutely nowhere, after all the human wisdom has completely failed, the arguments just run out of steam. And into that silence, something amazing happens. A storm kicks up, a whirlwind. And out of that storm, God himself finally speaks. And he doesn't talk to the friends, he answers Job.
Now here's the crazy part. God doesn't give Job the explanation he's been begging for. He never mentions the deal with the accuser. Instead, God totally reframes the entire debate. He takes Job on this virtual tour of the universe, asking him one mind-bending, unanswerable question after another. He's trying to get Job to see the world from a much, much bigger perspective. Job, can you tell the sun when to get up? Do you know where the snow comes from? Can you tame a wild donkey? Question after question reveals just how complex and wild and beautiful the universe is. The point isn't to put Job in his place. It's to gently show him that the wisdom it takes to run the entire cosmos is way beyond his limited human understanding of fairness. And this is the moment everything pivots. Job gets it. His response is just pure awe. He realizes he didn't need an answer to his why. He needed an encounter. He needed an experience of God. Seeing this glimpse of God's incredible wisdom and power was the only thing that could actually heal the deepest questions in his soul. So, once Job humbles himself, not because he was guilty, but because he finally understands how little he understands, the story moves to its final act. The trial's over, now comes the restoration. And what a restoration it is. First, in a wild plot twist, God tells off the friends for their terrible advice and makes Job pray for them. Then, God restores everything Job lost, but gives him double. Double the sheep, double the camels. He's also blessed with 10 new children, and he lives for another 140 years, long enough to see his great-great-grandchildren. So what's the big takeaway from all this? The story sets up two completely opposite voices that we hear when we suffer. There's the voice of the accuser, the one that whispers, "This is your fault, God is punishing you, you've been abandoned." But the New Testament presents a totally different voice, the voice of an advocate, Jesus, who doesn't accuse us in our pain, but stands with us, declaring that we're loved and forgiven no matter what. And that leaves us with this final, powerful idea to think about. The story of Job completely redefines what faith is. It suggests that real, mature faith isn't about having zero doubts or living a pain-free life. Maybe true faith is actually found in the struggle, in asking the angry questions and crying out against injustice, and in the end, choosing to trust the character of a God who is infinitely wiser than we are and closer than we can imagine. Job teaches us that sometimes our most profound encounters with God don't happen on the sunny mountaintops, but right in the middle of the storm.